This podcast is a Jeff Townsend Media production.
This is Jeff Townsend. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Indiana Stories. Welcome to Indiana Stories. Of course, I am the host, creator, founder, Jeff Townsend. This episode today is going to be pretty neat. We're going to take a little bit of a turn to the paranormal side, actually. We're going to talk to Erica Taylor from the Willard Library down in Evansville, Indiana. The famous Gray Lady. The haunting of this library has been on national television. It's been on like Ghost Hunters and some of the really huge, popular paranormal ghost hunting shows, etc. All sorts of great stuff. But not only that, this library is a pretty neat place. This is a fun conversation. We talk about, of course, the library itself and then the Gray Lady. This story has always been intriguing to me. They actually have a camera that they have running all the time, and people watch it to catch the Gray Lady and see her on camera. It's a very neat thing. This is like not necessarily something that's super scary or like a violent thing going on. It just seems to be a reoccurring event there, and she seems to live there, the Gray Lady. And everybody's kind of adapt to that situation, so I found that interesting. If you want to learn more about some of these different locations in Indiana that we're sharing, you can go to our website, indianastories.com. You can find the newsletter there, blogs, and of course, some transcription of the episodes. So there's a lot more stuff on that website to go there and check out. There really is. I suggest you do it. There's a contact form on there as well if you want to talk to me about something, whether it be feedback or a suggestion maybe of something we talk about in the future. I do want to thank 3 different supporters of this podcast like I do every episode. It's important to me that I do this for them because they do a lot for me. Boomcaster, podcastpage.io, and podden.io. 3 resources I use to make this podcast and all my other content I create. Boomcaster is the go-to for recording on interviews and conversations. It's way better than Zoom. Zoom is not really designed for that. It's just designed for conference calls. Boomcaster has the best quality, so go to boomcaster.com. Podden.io, best transcription, most accurate by far, not even close. Podden.io, go check it out. And then podcastpage.io. Tom and the team there are amazing. You can get a website up and running in like 5 minutes, literally. And the team's very hands-on and helpful. I actually use it for things that aren't podcast either, so something you should look into, podcastpage.io. All right, let's get past all this, and we'll go ahead and jump into this conversation that I have with Erica. I hope you enjoy it. My guest today is Erica Taylor. I'm going to say director at Willard Library in Evansville, Indiana. Screaming Eagle land, is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you a Screaming Eagle?
I'm not, but I am a fan. Go USI. And UV. We have 2 colleges here.
That's right. The Purple Aces. And then the Division II one, the Screaming Eagle. I've never heard of Screaming Eagle, but damn it sounds cool. No, so obviously have you on here to talk about the library. Before we get into that, we'll talk about the library a little bit in general, but this is obviously a notable place that's been featured on, I think it was actually like Ghost Hunters, right? This place has been on significant platforms for its known haunting. So I think this is all. Yeah. I mean, all sorts of different things from local to national. So I'm excited to talk about the library and the experience that people are having there.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Just kind of start off, tell us about the library. I know it's beautiful. It has this like Gothic style. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly when it was built, but it's a beautiful looking place.
Yes, it is a beautiful place. So it was built in 1885. It's Victorian Gothic style. It's actually the longest consecutively running library in the state of Indiana. So we've been around a long time, wow. But we've tried to keep all the original woodwork intact. If you walk in, you'll see like these individual little tiny tiles on the floor that were all laid in 1885. So there's a whole lot of history there. It's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, Willard Library does look beautiful. It's always operated, you just said, as a library. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct.
The longest one in the state. That's fascinating. I actually did not know that. So I'm learning along with everybody else here. So that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people come in and
this is a registered place, right? From a historical standpoint?
Yes, that's correct. We are a historic place. We're also a nationally recognized haunted place. So yeah. All kinds of cool things.
So now that answered that first question, it's been operating as a library the whole time, which is super cool.
When the library first opened, it was open to all people of all races, religions, backgrounds, which was kind of unheard of at the time. And that's kind of been our stance ever since. So We are a public library, and we welcome everyone from everywhere. If you live in the state of Indiana, you can get a card at Willard for free. You just have to present your ID and your home library card, and we can get you set up. If you're out of state, we can get you a card for a small fee as well. So, yeah.
I wanted to make sure we got that in there, but it does seem like you guys have a lot of activities and things that you do in addition to just, hey, look at the library, look at some books, like a stereotypical library. You guys have a lot of other things you're doing with the community too as well, right?
That's right. So we do a lot of public programming. We have a couple of different departments here at Willard. So we have a genealogy department. So we focus on family history. We also have an archives department. So we house a lot of old photos and records and things like that from the area. And then we have, of course, a children's department and an adult department. So lots of things going on all the time.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a really good community place.
It is. It is.
And also on this haunting note, it is by no means like a demonic haunting by any means. This is a lighthearted haunting here.
That is correct. Think of Casper the Ghost.
Think of Casper the Ghost. So no, Jeff's not covering anything crazy, you know. But this is super cool because from my research, it looks like this first documented experience was clear back in 1937, I think. I saw with a custodian or something. Is that correct?
That is correct. So it happened in 1937, like you said. We had a night janitor or a night custodian that would come in, and there was a big furnace. So he would come in and stoke the furnace and get the building ready for the following day. One night he came in and he sees this woman. She's dressed in a long Victorian gown. She's got a veil over her face. And he was supposed to be the only person there in the building at the time. So he yelled at her. She disappeared. The following day, he told his boss, and who was the library director at the time, and his director kind of played it down and said, you were probably tired. It was the middle of the night, and just kind of brushed it off. But this poor guy just kept seeing this lady in the middle of the night. He was actually the only person that we have on record as quitting his job here at Willard because of the Gray Lady ghost, because nobody would believe him. But it wasn't until years later that other people started seeing the same apparition. So
when did you say it was built?
Built in 1885.
It's not like this place was 100 years old or something when this guy saw this ghost.
No,
it was about 50 years old or something, which a lot of times you find with like or I want to say locations like this, that as they kind of age and like significant things happen there, that's when people start to see things, hear things,
Sure.
and these hauntings happen. So there's like not even like a known reason why the lady in the gray dress, right? Is that how the gray,
Yes.
what are
we call her the Gray Lady or the Lady in Gray. Yeah, either one.
Okay. But there's not like a reason that would be known why the Gray Lady would be there though, right? Like it's not like, hey, somebody, or is there somebody die? Like usually somebody died, something significant happened to the person.
So not necessarily. We do get that question all the time. Did somebody die here? And no, nobody ever died at the library. But there is a story, kind of goes that the founder of our library, his name was Willard Carpenter. He dedicated his life to this place, and he was actually here building it in his 80s. He was very dedicated to it, and it kind of was his baby. He was not so much of a family man, more of a workhorse. And so when he passed, he unfortunately passed right before the library opened, so he didn't get to see it. But when he passed, he left a lot of his wealth to the building, not as much to his family as they would have liked. Some of his family members actually sued the library board because they felt like he wasn't in sound mind when he made his will, and they lost that suit. And so some people believe that the Lady in Gray, or the Gray Lady, is his youngest daughter, Louise Carpenter, kind of hanging out to keep an eye on things around here. That's just one story. We don't know for sure who she is. That's kind of the general idea.
Well, it's interesting though, because like we were saying, like nothing happened in the building, which like this happens, of course, it's not unheard of, but seems like it's less documented. Maybe it's because it's not as intriguing, right? Like trying to sell some crazy story.
Could be.
But it's almost like fixated on a place for an unknown reason, which I find super interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
So what are some other events that have happened? Because like we talked about earlier, this library has been featured on Ghost Hunters. You implemented a ghost camera.
Yes.
But leading up to all that before, what were some other things that were kind of happen? And when did this library like officially have a tie-in, like public knowledge of this Gray Lady?
Right. So it really just happened started out by word of mouth. People were reporting the same sightings over and over again. The people who have seen the apparition describe her as a Victorian woman, wearing this like long dress with a high collar. And then sometimes she has a veil over her face. Other people have described her as like a gray mist or like a cloud sort of walking down the hallways. We've also had people say that they feel like a cold chill come over them. She's what we call a poltergeist. So she likes to move things around in the building. And people have reported like feeling like someone's breathing down their neck, touching their hair, playing with jewelry, that sort of thing. So just all of these different stories that just kept overlapping over time. It wasn't until I would say maybe the late 80s, early 90s that she really became kind of, I don't want to say a mascot, but something that was associated with the library that people identified with. And she became more and more well known. We started doing ghost tours about the mid 90s. Every year in October. And that really helped us to spread the word about her. And yeah, people just seem very interested in her, which is really cool for us.
There's a very famous for this library video of a book, right? It's just, is this book just kind of like gets lifted, then moves and just falls to the floor. Am I correct?
That's correct. So there's a story that kind of goes along with that is, we used to have, we still do have schools come in with, the field trips, daycares, that kind of thing. Usually when we have small children here, we tell them how important the library is and, you know, how they can get a library card and encourage them to read. And we usually just kind of touch on the ghost and just say, you know, there's a friendly ghost that hangs out here. Well, one time this little kid went home and told his mom that they told their class about a ghost at the library, and he was really upset about it. So his mom got upset too, and she marches down to the library and tells the director, you know, you can't be telling little kids about a ghost. You're giving my kid nightmares. At that point, the director said, okay, I've had enough of this. And he tells his staff, he said, we're going to tell people that the gray lady is not here anymore. She has moved on. We're not going to talk about her anymore. So his staff did what they were instructed. And the next time somebody asked about the gray lady, they said, oh, she's not here. We haven't seen her, heard anything from her for a while. As soon as they said that, a book flies across the room like it was chucked. So she definitely makes her presence known, even if we try to deny it.
Yeah. And this video was it on the ghost cam or was it on just that? Is that why the ghost cam got put up? I'm trying to recall exactly.
So we have multiple ghost cams. There's one on every floor and they run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there was this was fairly recently, there was a book that was caught falling off of a shelf in the middle of the night. So all the lights are out, but you can see this book falling. We came back the next day and kind of tested it to try to figure out like what would cause that to happen. And we honestly don't know. There's gravity of it. I mean, it was leaned up against a wall. So there's really no reason for it to fall forward. We even checked to see if there was a small earthquake that night and there was nothing. So yeah, there are things like that happen all the time that are just kind of unexplainable.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to look up this video that I'm talking about, though. I think that's like the one that's most widely circulated, probably. So what about you? How long have you worked there? Have you had experiences at all, or?
Yeah, so I've worked here about 7 years. I'll be honest, I've been a skeptic. I didn't want to believe in anything paranormal going on because, you know, it freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I have had I've never seen the Gray Lady, but I have had experiences. The most notable would probably be about 2 years ago. I was holding a book club in our Bayard room, which is our boardroom. So it's an enclosed room on the upstairs floor. We had our book club. Everyone left, and I was there cleaning up refreshments and stuff. And I had my hair back in a ponytail, and I was cleaning some things off of a table, and I feel someone tug on my ponytail, just kind of like a playful tug, like twice. Mm-hmm. And so I turn around to see, I'm thinking it's maybe one of the people that attended book club or one of my coworkers. And I turn around and there's no one there. And I was nowhere near a wall or anything. I mean, there was nothing that it could have been caught on. So it really freaked me out. But that's happened. I've also seen, books fall off the shelves by themselves. A lot of times the elevator doors will open and close and there's no one on there. We just have like weird things like that all the time. The faucets run by themselves, that sort of thing.
So what did you do when that happened to you? Like, what was your reaction? Did you just like calmly go about your business or?
I got the heck out of there really quick.
Yeah.
But I went and I double checked with the staff that was working on that floor and said, did anybody come in here recently? No. So yeah, I told a few coworkers about it, but not a fond memory for me. It's a little creepy.
Is it common for your coworkers, like, is everybody or most of the people had an experience or?
I would say yes and no. So there are some people on staff that swear up and down that, the gray lady is not a thing. Other people swear up and down that she is and they've seen her. So it really just depends on who you ask. But I do think everyone would agree that strange things do happen around here all the time. And with our ghost cams, I mean, we have people reporting sightings and just odd stuff happening, every day.
Who has to review that footage? That sounds like a heck of a task.
Yeah, no kidding.
Who do you do that? Is that your job, Erica? You review all this ghost camera footage.
I wish. No, that's not my job. But we do have a great following and people on Facebook chatting back and forth about their sightings they've seen. So yeah, we appreciate all those ghost hunters out there watching, keeping an eye on things for us.
Yeah, it's important to note that. That's a super cool interactive thing that you guys are doing in regards to that camera. You can go online on, I think your website, see it. There's other places to see it. Mm-hmm. So like when the book fell recently, was that reported by somebody watching or like, how did you like know? Did you like go in the morning and you saw the book on the floor or like?
That I believe was a security footage shot, but this is an interesting story too. So last summer, we have this gigantic painted portrait of George Washington that hangs in the stairwell. It's massive. It's like 10 feet tall. And one night, someone on Ghost Cam saw it fall off the wall and it was attached really well. I mean, it was professionally hung and it falls off the wall, falls forward. Somebody caught it on the cams and notified the library. So this was after hours. So we were able to go and get it taken care of. But that was another thing. We don't know why that happened or what. But yeah, somebody caught it and there is footage of it falling.
But has there been anything documented as far as a picture or anything?
So, yeah, there have been photos taken of her. One interesting thing about her is she likes to cover her tracks. So we'll have people in all the time that say, oh, I caught this awesome picture of the gray lady. And then they go to look on their phone and it's gone. The same thing has happened we've had news stations here. One time a news station was here and the gray lady actually, well, we say the gray lady, she pulled multiple books halfway off the shelf. No one was around. It really freaked the staff out. The news crew comes and they get footage of these books pulled out and they interview the staff. And when they get back to the studio to put their segment together, all of that footage had been wiped away. So it's really interesting how people try to capture her on film, on their phones, and she just doesn't allow that to happen. But we do have a few pictures of her. They're floating around the internet. There's one very clear one that we got a couple of years ago of her walking down the stairs. And you can actually see her long dress. She's holding a book. So yeah, it's a really cool picture.
How long did it take you to start believing that? You said you're a skeptic. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you can only deny for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely strange energy around here, but I mean, it's not like a scary feeling. It's more of just something strange going on.
And that's why I kind of started off with that. It's not like there's not some crazy story here. There's not some crazy event here. It's just an interesting thing going on at a historical place. So
yes, just another coworker almost.
Yeah, another coworker. Like I said earlier, ghost hunters, which it's still probably one of the most popular ever for sure as far as those kind of television shows. But they, at the time, definitely hands down were, I don't remember what year it was, probably over 10 years now, easily. They came to the library with the whole production set, which I know people do. I know people do that a lot there, but this was a big ordeal, like a national thing. They came there, they set everything up. I know you probably weren't working there then, but do you hear a lot about that? Because that's a pretty big deal. They've only done so many episodes, right? This library is one of them.
That's right. It was in 2005 when they came, and that was before my time. It wasn't the most exciting episode of Ghost Hunters ever, mm-hmm. But they said that they could not confirm or deny that she existed here at Willard. A little story about that, though. She that night their whole crew was here. They all kind of used our boardroom as kind of their hangout space. So the middle of the night, they were walking through. They decided to take a little break. They go up in the boardroom, and they're all sitting around our boardroom table, and this mist appears above the table. And so like 10 people saw it all at the same time. Unfortunately, no one got it on camera, but they did say that they all saw something.
Did they say that? I'm trying to remember. Did they say that on the episode itself?
I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, it's been a while. That's a big deal, though, for them to come there and do that. Like I said, 100 episodes they've done or something, and this library is one of them. So I assume that part of the thing that lured them there is probably that book incident, or
it could have been.
I think they may have played that on the show, like we're talking about, that book going across the room.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like locally it was probably known, like you said, going into the 90s, but nationally speaking, I'm sure that helped contribute to it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we get calls and people from all over the country coming to visit us, and it's really helped to promote the library itself. So
you probably hear that every day, right? Like,
oh yeah, especially in October.
Exactly. So to segue into that, this time of the year, you guys do a lot of different things as far as tours, investigate, like activities going on at the library.
That's right. So we do public tours the 3 weeks leading up to Halloween. This year we have 21 different tours scheduled, and all of these tours are led by staff members who are here every day and have had experiences. So it's just a fun little, it's more of a historic tour than a haunted house. So it's kind of, people come in, we tell a little bit of history about the building, and then we walk through and visit all the different spots where the Gray Lady has been seen, tell different stories. So it's a family friendly thing. It gives people the creeps, which is always fun, but yeah, it's always a good time. We enjoy it.
Again, this is a lighthearted event. Nobody's coming to work terrified every day.
That's right.
I think most of the times we hear about these kind of stories, it's like that, right? Because that's a cool story, I guess. I was too afraid to even go into work. The cool thing about this, though, is it's just such a nonchalant sort of thing, right? Like, she's here. It's fine. We're all going to go about our business.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
To me, that the legitimacy of that is high for me, because you always hear about crazy things, but it's just a part of everyday life for the staff and the people in the library.
Right. Yeah. You kind of get used to it. You know, if you're in the bathroom and the water turns itself on, it's like, okay, hey, you know,
yeah,
I see you.
And it's probably not even something like, I know people come in and talk about it, but I know it's probably not something you guys even talk about every day. It's such, like I said, just such a common thing.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. You kind of just come to accept it. So
yeah, beautiful place. Definitely everybody should check it out. Even if you don't want to see the ghost lady, you could check it out in person. Or I also want to let you share the details of online, some information about the library. Then obviously the ghost cameras are rolling all the time, right?
That is correct. So our website is called Willard. So I'll give you the link. It's www.willard.lib.in.us. It's kind of a mouthful. But on there is a link to our ghost site. We also have merchandise that features the Gray Lady. So you can check that out. And yeah, you can log on there and see our ghost cams 24/7. They are always running. So yeah, it's just a really cool place. Not to mention we have all kinds of, you know, historic resources and ebooks and that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely check out our website and come visit us if you're ever in Southern Indiana.
What do they call it? The tri-state area.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Across the bridge from Henderson.
From Kentucky. You got it.
Yeah. Again, Erica, it was awesome for you to take the time to do this with me. And I can't encourage everybody enough to check out the things you're doing down there, not only at the library, but Evansville itself is a very cool city. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It is. All kinds of stuff going on down here.
You got a little zoo. You've got casinos. It's like
yeah. What more could you need?
Mini Indianapolis going on down there.
There you go.
It is kind of like, I think it's forgotten about a lot. It's kind of like that town off to the side down in the corner.
Uh-huh.
And until recently, I don't even think it had an interstate from Indianapolis going there. And yeah, is it the third most populated city in the state, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
But it did not even have a freaking interstate from the capital to there. So it is kind of like a little forgotten town in the corner, I feel like.
It's a great place to visit. even better place to live. So
there you go. We got all the plugs in.
yes.
And like I said, I'll have all this in the show notes, of course. And again, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Indiana Stories. If you like what you heard, you can go to indianastories.com for more episodes and other stories related to Indiana. Also, if you're enjoying this podcast, there's several things you can follow: the podcast itself, the newsletter, and various other things. Thanks again for listening, and we will be back with another episode, and I hope you join us for another Indiana story.
And the question is, do I stay here? Will you be back? Are you gonna come back? Will you be back? Are you coming back?